Alright, what's going on, guys? We're doing a review on Gotham Season 5, Episode 1. Uh, this starts off with a recap of last season, which I haven't covered any of this on my channel yet, but I have been following the show. Not as diehard as some other people, but I will be covering every episode in this last season of Gotham. But we get a recap of all the things that happened in the previous season, and if you're here watching this review, you most likely are familiar with everything that unfolded. So here we start off with a pretty crazy opening scene. Gotham always does some pretty ridiculous stuff, like some really ridiculous stuff that you really have to just suspend your belief of it. I mean, you have to like suspend reality, like suspend disbelief. But here we get a scene. It kind of shows everybody arming themselves up with a gun. You got Bullock with his whiskey and his guns. You got Riddler actually arming himself with a automatic weapon, which kind of surprised me. That's not particularly Riddler's style. Uh, and you get Penguin loading himself up. He's getting all suited up, like, tailored, and he's got these little glasses and then, of course, you get the man himself, Jim Gordon, at GCPD loading up. And as he starts to walk away, they kind of all come together as one group. They go out armed to the teeth and they start firing down on what appears to be military. They have tanks and weapons and stuff. Now, I haven't really watched any of the trailers for this season. This seems a bit weird to me, a bit out there. So I'm not, even as ridiculous as Gotham is, I'm not going to believe that this is actually the government, the military, that they're having a shootout with, because that's just suicide for a few men. But after that, and for the record, this is like day 361 or something in No Man's Land. But it cuts back to like day 87. And there we find out, that Jim Gordon's just kind of talking over a radio. The government's abandoned them essentially, which is kind of a thing that's hard to believe because the bridges have been blown out and they're cut off, and the people across the river aren't going to help them, and the government's not going to help them. And Jim's talking over the radio to somebody, and they're talking about putting together a committee to discuss the Gotham situation, but that's it. I mean, the city has been abandoned to the criminals who have each taken different territories, and Jim's got this map laid out where he discusses who has which territory, and you can see on the map that he as he goes on talking about it, the Sirens, Barbara, and Tabitha, they have one area, and the club's exclusively for women. Men have to pay for exclusive time windows, and they get taken out once their time window's up. Uh, and then you have Penguin, who's just got his own territory. Penguin's got the bulk of the weapons, while Tabitha's got the alcohol and the club and the women, and she's got the food. And you hear that other people have other territories, such as Scarecrow. Victor Zaz has a territory. It's mentioned that Mr. Freeze has a territory somewhere up north, and Firefly has a territory. So there's all these different little factions, and I thought that was really kind of cool right there, that all these places have been divided up into different sections, and they're under the control of different people who have different assets and different gangs. So Jim just pretty much gets told he's not getting help and they have to fend for themselves, but they're running out of food and supplies. Uh, we have Lucius Fox and cops and civilians in the police station, and Alfred and Bruce. Uh, Kat, she's injured. Selena. Selena's injured from the what happened unfolded last season. She even says herself, like, you know, I wish I would have died because that bullet was meant for you, and I took it, and it's just, she's all depressed and very suicidal in this episode, and they have to do surgery to get the bullet out. Yeah, I didn't really find all that stuff too intriguing or whatever. Yeah, for me, it kind of felt a bit too dramatic. Uh, but with all the stuff happening at the police station, Jim's trying to figure out how to get supplies for his people, and we'll focus on the Jim part of the episode. That's pretty much what it comes down to. He's trying to figure out how to get supplies, and you know, they have a no-fly zone. Like pretty much, they can't even fly out. He mentions they've tried it before or something. Bruce suggests that he's going to help. He's going to go out. He's going to get supplies brought back on a helicopter, and so that takes up a big bulk of the episode. While someone visits Barbara, talking about they're on behalf of Penguin trying to exchange weapons for food. She does make a reference to future fat Penguin, uh, but Tabitha doesn't want to deal. She doesn't want to exchange food or anything for Penguin's weapons. She wants nothing to do with Penguin. She wants to murder him. Leads to her getting her hands on a bullet and thinking she's going to get the best of Penguin. Meanwhile, because Barbara wants to go through with the deal anyway, which really upsets Tabitha because Penguin killed Butch last season. Yeah, and the other things going on in this episode are like Riddler keeps waking up in strange places. Blaming his split personality for every time he goes to sleep. It appears that Edward takes over and goes somewhere. I mean, he leaves him on a couch on a rooftop asleep there. He leaves him asleep in a dumpster, and he's trying to figure out all this. He's got these little tacks that he's pinpointing on maps. What I'm assuming is places that he's woke up, and he's trying to piece it together. But he's not doing a very good job of being like Riddler, being smart and thinking it through. He's being more emotional because it's pissing him off. So Riddler is somebody all for these puzzle games and stuff that would be really intrigued and really ready to play this game to figure it out. But here he's just kind of overly emotional about it. And there's always this. Hopefully, you know, according to what we see in the beginning, Riddler is fully suited up as Riddler, and he's back to just being Riddler. We're assuming that he's figured out how to just solidify that identity problem that he's had. This has been a problem that's been repeated and dragged out. This is the last season, so they really need to resolve that issue where stuff's going back and forth. But other than that, you also have a situation where Scarecrow, and the costume for Scarecrow is great and all that, but his voice, it just doesn't feel like it should be Scarecrow's voice. Whatever actor they got in there doing the voice, the voice isn't intimidating or sinister or threatening in any way. It's just kind of this generic, deep voice. The scarecrows break the barricade. They manipulate themselves way through the barricade, and they go to the police station to steal supplies. They make off with meds, food, uh, and for the most part, they escape. Bruce does interfere, and he mentions that he has something tactical from Lucius to deal with him because they cut the lights to the generator. Unfortunately, it's during Selena's surgery, but fortunately, they have a backup generator for that particular area. So Bruce, he takes these these night vision goggles, and he fights them, and it's kind of a Batman-esque type scene, like alluding to Batman, foreshadowing him becoming Batman. That was great. There was also a moment with a spotlight being shined in the sky with Jim Gordon and Bruce just standing there side by side, and he talks about that being the light in the darkness, and Jim's talking about yeah, for him he needs that. That was an interesting thing. But the little scene with Bruce fighting these guys, they didn't last too long, but it felt like a very Batman-like scene. And when it comes down to the helicopter going out to get more supplies, because they also lost medicine, like I said, for Selena that she would need after her surgery was complete. The helicopter ended up getting shot down that was bringing in the supplies, and everybody got into a kind of fight over the helicopter. People coming from all territories. You got, I believe they called them the Low Boys, and Penguin getting in a standoff. He has them executed, and then he gets in a situation with Jim and the GCPD, and Oswald's cocky because he knows they're low on bullets, and he's just, you know, playing that game where he's got the upper hand and he knows it, and he's just being a dick. But Tabitha interferes and kills a few people and puts a knife through to his throat, or a gun to his face. Yeah, she puts a gun to his face and says she's going to kill him and all that. And she actually does try to pull the trigger, but it's not a good bullet. So, and he's all cocky about that too. Mentions, he hopes it wasn't one of his bullets because he would have to talk to somebody about that. And he actually, this is a spoiler right here, so pretty big one too, because Tabitha, because, well, just say one, two, three, spoiler alert. So drop out now if you don't want to hear it. But he actually kills Tabitha. And that's a pretty big deal. It has some emotional impact to it. And then Barbara shows up and she just freaks out, starts screaming irrationally, trying to shoot at people with very poor aim, trying to kill Penguin. And, you know, they're low on bullets. Bruce is sneaking around. He goes outside, knocks out some guys, gets some bullets for Bullock and uh, for Jim. And then Penguin doesn't exactly know. They've got their guns reloaded at this point, and he's got Barbara down. He's ready to kill her. Jim kind of tries to talk to him for a second, tries to negotiate with him, and Oswald's just cocky because he thinks they're out of bullets, and Jim pops him in the leg, in the knee, I think, and he screams, and Barbara, she escapes, or I don't remember if they show her escaping, and she vows getting revenge on him, and Jim lets Penguin leave. Obviously, he needs him for stability in the city, but he doesn't actually say that when questioned by Bullock about why he let him live, how they could have solved so many problems. But obviously, Jim is doing this for stability. He's got to keep these crazy people left to their territory so they can control it and keep some kind of balance. And beyond that, uh, there's also this mystery about who actually shot down the helicopter. Penguin makes it clear that it wasn't him. If it was, he would brag about it. Uh, so nobody really knows who did it. But it's pretty clear that it was probably Jeremiah, their kind of version of the Joker. And there is actually a scene of what I'm assuming is, well, they call her Echo, but what I'm assuming is their version of Harley Quinn. Uh, she kind of overlooks Jim's map, and somebody's trying to contact Jim. She overhears that, and Jim goes to check the radio. He notices the map has "ha ha" written on it, and it's somebody on the radio is telling Jim that they're going to help them. They're from across the river. They're sending help. There are people that want to help. He doesn't get an answer of who it is because it kind of fizzles out. But he sees the "ha ha ha" and the symbol, and he knows that somebody was there. So uh, he kind of goes downstairs and has a conversation with Bullock and I can't remember Lucius Fox, yeah, about trying to figure out where Jeremiah is. Jeremiah's been absent since he blew the bridge. Um, and then we have this kind of kid come up, and this cop bring up this kid, and he says this kid's walked across all these sectors, and this kid tells him that you gotta help me save my family. They're murdering them, and he doesn't give a real answer because the kid needs medical attention. So that leaves a mystery open right there. Uh, so you got the helicopter being shot down by an unknown source. You got the thing going on with Riddler. You got this kid. All three of those are mysteries in themselves. And you have this nurse because Selena Kyle, she tried to kill herself after her surgery. She wanted to commit suicide. The doctor stopped there talking about strapping her down, and some nurse, she just has this really weird makeup style, almost like she could be part of like Jeremiah's cult thing or whatever. She tells him something. You got to go to the witch if you want to save her, and I don't know what that alludes to. A witch. I'm not familiar with any kind of witch or whatever. The closest thing I can assume is that she may be referring to Poison Ivy because I don't know where Ivy is at this point. That she was really good friends with Selena, and she does have all this medicine and plants and ways to cure things or poison people or you know. So that's the best I can figure from that. As far as the other mysteries go, I don't really know what's going on there. But I'd say, you know, uh, see, the thing is I like some elements of Gotham. This obviously had, you know, the shots of the city and stuff. All those are great. This kind of feels like with them all being isolated and stuff, it feels like a Batman Rise of the Dark Knight type situation. And Gotham always has good scenery and stuff like that, and it does have some quality acting, mostly from the lead actor in Bullock and the guy that plays Alfred. But a lot of other people have questionable acting abilities, except for the guy who plays Jeremiah Jerome. He's got some pretty strong acting chops. But a lot of people on here tend to have questionable acting scenes, and a lot of scenes are poorly written often. Like like Barbara screaming before she runs out at people, firing her gun, like alerting them to, "Hey, I'm about to shoot all you guys," but I'm gonna scream right before I try to do it. Things like that really bother me when I'm watching stuff like this. And there's always just these ridiculous scenes where these bad guys are very over the top and out there and doing things that they obviously would not be able to do in real life and get away with. So it's really hard for me to rate a Gotham episode because there's always just so much over the top silliness and ridiculousness or some, you know, very strange things going on. Uh, I'm just gonna give this like a 5 out of 10 because there wasn't anything too bad about it, but there wasn't anything special about it either. So I'm just gonna give this episode a 5 out of 10. Like I said, I'll be reviewing the rest of the season. Like, subscribe, check out my other videos, check out my GoFundMe link if you want to support my channel or my PayPal me link. Uh, Stay awesome, rock on.